Now, Donald Trump, it is fair to say, considers himself a top deal maker and a supreme salesman. And I would buy that argument. He is quite the salesman. But right now, he is trying to figure out how to sell the American people on how he has handled the economy over the last 9 months. Well, after weeks of downplaying the affordability topic, now he is trying a messaging pivot and damage control. But you can actually see him going back and forth on that strategy in real time. Tonight, he held a rally at a Pennsylvania casino resort, and that rally speech was specifically focused on the economy. I want you to watch him go from a strategic political message complete with matching signs back to what he has been saying about the whole thing being a hoax. Watch this.
I have no higher priority than making America affordable again. That's what we're going to do. And again, they caused the high prices and we're bringing them down. It's a simple message. And a lot of people misinterpret it. They say, oh, he doesn't realize prices are high. Prices are coming down very substantially. But they have a new word. You know, they always have a hoax. The new word is affordability. So they look at the camera and they say, this election is all about affordability. Now, they never talk about it.
Affordability is not a new concept. It is a crucial one. And one could say it is ironic that the president is giving this speech in a casino where people often lose all of their money. And, of course, years ago, he ran one into the ground. Well, in a new interview with Politico, the president was asked to self-evaluate his economic policy. And rather than paraphrase, I'll give it to you straight. Here's what he said.
I do want to talk about the economy, sir, here at home, and I wonder what grade you would give
A plus.
A plus.
Yeah, A plus, 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 plus.
A plus, 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 plus. But the actual grade that matters is less about being self-reflective and the one voters give. And according to the Real Clear polling average over the last month, 56% of Americans are disapproving of how Trump has handled the economy.
Let me paint you a picture of what's happening right now in American politics, because what we're witnessing is nothing short of a train wreck in slow motion. Donald Trump is out here trying to convince you, me, and every other American that everything is absolutely fantastic with the economy. He's giving himself an A+++, literally 5 pluses, while the rest of us are watching our bank accounts drain at the grocery store and wondering if we're living in the same reality as this man. And here's the kicker. His own party is starting to sweat bullets because they know what's coming in the midterms, and it's not pretty. We're now 328 days out from the midterm elections. That's less than a year, folks. And Trump, who fancies himself the ultimate deal maker and the greatest salesman America has ever produced, is desperately trying to figure out how to sell you on his economic record. For weeks, he's been downplaying the whole affordability crisis, acting like it's some made-up problem that the media invented to make him look bad. But now, suddenly, he's pivoting, he's doing damage control, and you can literally watch him contradict himself in real time, flip-flopping between admitting there's a problem and claiming the whole thing is fake news. By the way, I am trying to do my best to gather all the information I can for you and share it with you. Please leave your likes and comments, and I would be grateful if you subscribed. Let's continue. Tonight, Trump held a rally at a casino resort in Pennsylvania. Let that sink in for a second. He's giving an economic speech at a casino, a place where people routinely lose everything they've got. And if you know anything about Trump's history with casinos, you know he literally ran one into the ground years ago. But I digress. The rally was supposed to be laser-focused on the economy. They had matching signs, carefully crafted messaging, the whole political theater package. Watch what happened. Trump starts off with what his advisors clearly wanted him to say, this carefully prepared line about how making America affordable again is his number one priority. He's reading from the script, and for a moment, you think maybe, just maybe, he's actually going to stick to the message. But then, like clockwork, the real Trump comes bursting through. He can't help himself. Within seconds, he's back to calling affordability a hoax, claiming the Democrats invented this new word to attack him, saying people are misinterpreting his brilliance. He's literally standing there with signs behind him that say affordability is the priority, while simultaneously telling everyone that affordability is fake news. You cannot make this stuff up. The contradiction is so blatant, so obvious, that it's almost impressive in its shamelessness. Now, let's be crystal clear about something. Affordability is not some new buzzword that political consultants dreamed up last week. It's not a hoax, it's not fake news, and it's definitely not a concept that needs Trump's validation to be real. Affordability is what every single American thinks about when they're at the grocery store watching their bill climb higher and higher. It's what families discuss at the dinner table when they're trying to figure out how to stretch their paycheck to cover everything. It's what keeps people up at night when they're worried about making rent or paying for medicine. This is not abstract political theory. This is people's lives. Trump sat down with Politico recently, and they asked him to grade his own economic performance. His answer? An A+. Actually, he said A+++++, 5 pluses. The man gave himself 5 bonus pluses on top of an already perfect grade. That's not confidence, that's delusion. And here's what makes it even more absurd. While Trump is out here awarding himself imaginary extra credit, the actual American people are grading him very differently. According to Real Clear Politics polling average over the last month, 56% of Americans disapprove of how Trump has handled the economy. His approval on economic issues is more than 15 points underwater. That's not a rounding error. That's a significant majority of the country telling him he's failing. But it gets better or worse depending on your perspective. Remember Trump's big trade war with China? The whole reason he launched that mess was supposedly to bring back American manufacturing and stick it to our biggest economic rival. Well, China just set a new record. Their trade surplus passed $1 trillion for the first time in history. Read that again. $1 trillion. Sure, they might not be selling as much directly to us because of tariffs, but they're selling a massive amount of goods all over the rest of the world. The trade war didn't cripple China. It didn't bring manufacturing flooding back to American shores. What it did do was make it more expensive for American companies to get the parts they need to manufacture things here. And we have proof of that failure. For the 9th consecutive month, manufacturing activity in the United States has shrunk. 9 months in a row. Firms are telling the Wall Street Journal that this is happening largely because of Trump's tariffs, because those tariffs make it more expensive to source components, because the whole policy has backfired spectacularly. The tariffs were supposed to be the magic solution that would revitalize American manufacturing. Instead, they're choking it. Meanwhile, down in South Florida, something remarkable happened tonight that should be setting off alarm bells in Republican headquarters across the country. According to the Associated Press, a Democrat just won the mayor's race in Miami for the first time in almost 30 years. Miami, a city that Republicans have dominated for decades. A city with a large Cuban-American population that has traditionally leaned conservative, and a Democrat just won there. If that's not a warning sign about the political winds shifting, I don't know what is. Jeff Mason from Reuters pointed out something crucial about Trump's messaging problem. The president keeps trying to have it both ways. He wants credit for promising to lower prices and give everyone bigger paychecks, but he also can't resist calling the entire affordability conversation a hoax invented by Democrats. He's setting himself up for failure by making promises he can't keep, while simultaneously denying the problem exists. Trump literally said during his campaign that he would lower prices on day one. Day one. Then, within weeks of taking office, he told Kristen Welker that actually, lowering prices is really hard to do. The backtrack was swift and shameless. And Trump is still blaming Biden for economic problems even though we're nearly 12 months into his term. At some point, and we're well past that point, this becomes Trump's economy. He owns it. Every price increase, every manufacturing decline, every farmer struggling because of his tariffs, that's on him now. He can't keep pointing fingers at the previous administration when he's had almost a year to implement his own policies, and those policies are clearly not delivering the results he promised. Here's what's particularly telling about that rally footage. Trump's advisors clearly wanted him to emphasize that first line, the one about affordability being his highest priority. They gave him signs, they staged the whole event, they set him up for success. But the real Donald Trump came out in that second part of his speech, where he revealed what he actually believes, that affordability is a made-up issue, a hoax perpetrated by his political enemies. That disconnect between the message his team wants him to deliver and what he genuinely thinks creates this incoherent mess that leaves voters confused and unconvinced. Americans across the entire political spectrum are going to grocery stores and seeing higher prices than they want to pay. That's not a partisan issue. That's reality. Now, Trump likes to point out that gas prices have come down, and he's had some success bringing down the price of eggs compared to where they were when he first took office. Those are legitimate points in his favor, but they don't apply across the board. Plenty of other necessities are still expensive, and cherry-picking a couple of items that have improved doesn't change the overall picture that most Americans are struggling with costs. Political reporter James Pendle from the Boston Globe made a really important observation about how Republicans are reacting to all of this behind closed doors. Publicly, they're standing by Trump because they have to. The Republican Party is still very much his party, and breaking from him is political suicide for most of them. But privately, they're nervous, very nervous. Even a recent Fox News poll, and remember, Fox is generally friendly territory for Republicans, showed that 76% of Americans are deeply worried about affordability and the economy. That's 6 points higher than when Biden left office. Think about what that means. Economic anxiety has gotten worse under Trump, not better, and 3/4 of the country is concerned about it. This is a blinking red siren for Republicans heading into the midterms. Some of them are already starting to think about their political futures, not just the immediate election, but what comes after Trump. Trump himself isn't looking that far ahead because he's constitutionally incapable of thinking beyond his own immediate interests. But smarter Republicans are doing the math. They're realizing that tying themselves completely to Trump's economic message might not be the winning strategy they thought it was. And here's where Trump's ego becomes his own worst enemy. That soundbite of him giving himself an A++++++, that's going to be in every Democratic campaign ad from now until November. You couldn't hand opposition researchers better material if you tried. Picture the ad. Trump saying he deserves 5 bonus pluses while footage rolls of empty grocery store shelves, farmers struggling, manufacturing plants closing. The contrast writes itself. Trump's inability to show even a shred of humility or self-awareness is delivering political ammunition to his opponents on a silver platter. Reed Galen, who worked on multiple Republican campaigns before becoming president of the Union, laid out exactly what's happening with Trump's rally strategy. This whole event with the signs and the placards, that's old-school political advance work. You spend days preparing so the president can be on the ground for 2 hours, and you can get 30 seconds of perfect footage for the evening news. That's the goal. Get those images of Trump standing in front of signs that say bigger paychecks, lower costs, affordability. But then Trump steps all over his own message because that's what he does. He can't stick to the script because deep down, he doesn't believe it. Trump looks at the stock market going up, and as far as he's concerned, everything is fantastic. The stock market is his barometer for economic success, which tells you everything about whose economy he's actually focused on. The stock market doing well is great for people who own substantial amounts of stock, but for working class Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck, who don't have investment portfolios, the stock market being up doesn't put food on their table or gas in their car. Trump fundamentally doesn't understand this because affordability has never been an issue for him personally. The man lives in a literal gold-plated penthouse. He has no concept of what it's like to worry about making rent. A bunch of Republican members of Congress have already announced they're not running for re-election. They're getting out while they can because they see the writing on the wall. Others know they're in serious trouble in their districts. Remember what happened in the 2018 midterms? Democrats netted 40 seats. 40. That was a blue wave of historic proportions, and it happened because Trump was unpopular, and Republicans had no good answers for voters' concerns. Now, Democrats are looking at a similar tailwind, the generic ballot, which asks voters whether they prefer Democrats or Republicans without naming specific candidates, is showing a gap as wide as it's ever been in Democrats' favor. More of Trump's economic messaging disasters will only increase that Democratic advantage, and as we get into filing periods where politicians have to decide whether they're running for re-election, if they've decided that the albatross of Donald Trump is going to be hanging around their neck, some of them are just going to quit. That creates open seats with crazy primaries featuring extreme candidates who win by appealing to the Trump base but can't win general elections. That scenario gives Democrats even more opportunities to pick up seats. But here's the crucial part. Democrats can't just run against Trump's failures. They need to articulate what they're going to do about the affordability crisis. It's not enough to point out that Trump is bad. Voters need to hear a positive vision, a plan for how Democrats would actually make things better. That's the challenge for the Democratic Party heading into these midterms. Let's talk about farmers for a second because their situation perfectly illustrates the absurdity of Trump's trade policies. Farmers across the country are now getting a $12 billion aid package. That's billion with a B. They're grateful to receive the help because many of them are struggling. But as one farmer told reporters, he doesn't want an aid package. He wants more business. He wants his farm to actually succeed on its own merits. He wants his community schools to be properly funded. The aid package is a band-aid on a wound that Trump's policies created in the first place. Think about the logic here. Trump imposed tariffs that disrupted agricultural exports and hurt American farmers. China retaliated with their own tariffs, cutting off major markets for American agricultural products. Farmers started going bankrupt, so Trump's solution is to give them taxpayer money to compensate for the damage his own policies caused. It's like someone breaking your arm and then paying your hospital bill and expecting you to thank them. That's how people are describing it, and they're absolutely right. The Agriculture Secretary is out here claiming credit for the bailout while ignoring that the bailout is only necessary because of the tariffs. And here's the political opportunity. There absolutely is a chance for Democrats to go into the heartland of America and win votes from these farmers and rural communities. But it requires actually going there and listening. Democrats have spent too much time focused on the coasts and big cities. They need to come back to the heartland, and those voters are available if Democrats are willing to do the work. You probably have to be a little more populist than some Democrats are comfortable with. You have to decide that these are the people you want to talk to, and this is how you're going to reach them. You have to stay focused on economics and kitchen table issues rather than getting distracted by culture war stuff. Trump's senior advisor, Susie Wiles, has said the president is going to be out on the trail a lot over the next few months, really making the midterms about Trump himself. That's a massive risk if the economy doesn't turn around. It's an even bigger risk if we continue to have a K-shaped economy where the rich get exponentially richer while everyone else struggles. And Americans are watching in real time as Trump and his family get wealthier. The corruption, the conflicts of interest, the self-dealing, it's all happening right in front of us. Making the midterms a referendum on Trump when Trump's economic record is this bad seems like political malpractice. There are two sides to this strategy, though. Yes, there's significant risk if the economy continues to struggle or if voters don't feel the improvements that Trump claims are happening. Trump faces the same challenge his predecessor did, talking about a strong economy while voters don't feel it in their pocketbooks. All the statistics in the world don't matter if people's lived experience contradicts them. But the flip side is that when Trump gets out on the trail, he absolutely energizes his base. People come out to those rallies in huge numbers. From a pure turnout perspective, having Trump campaign for Republicans can be beneficial. The question is whether that benefit outweighs the risk. Can Trump stay on message? Can he show empathy for people concerned about costs instead of calling their concerns a hoax? Can he actually help Republican candidates, or will he make everything about himself and his grievances? The track record is not encouraging. In the 2018 midterms, Trump campaigned heavily and Republicans got destroyed. In the 2022 midterms, Trump was a central figure and Republicans massively underperformed expectations, losing winnable races because Trump-endorsed candidates were too extreme for general election voters. So the historical evidence suggests that making the midterms about Trump is not a winning strategy. But Trump can't help himself. Everything has to be about him. He can't fade into the background and let candidates run on local issues. He's going to insert himself into every race, demand loyalty, attack Republicans who don't worship him sufficiently, and generally make the whole election cycle about his ego. That's who he is. And Republicans have tied themselves to him so completely that they can't change course now, even if they wanted to. The economy is the big issue heading into these midterms, and Trump's handling of it is going to be the referendum. He can give himself all the A-pluses he wants. He can claim everything is perfect. He can call affordability a hoax. None of that changes the reality that most Americans are struggling with costs, that manufacturing is shrinking, that the trade war backfired, that farmers need bailouts, and that his own approval ratings on the economy are terrible. Those are facts, and facts don't care about Trump's feelings or his self-assessment. Republicans in competitive districts and swing states are looking at these numbers and panicking. They know what's coming. Some of them are trying to distance themselves from Trump's most extreme positions while still maintaining enough loyalty to avoid getting primaried. It's a nearly impossible tightrope to walk. Others are just getting out, announcing retirements because they'd rather quit than face the voters in this environment. That tells you everything you need to know about how Republicans privately view their chances. Democrats, meanwhile, need to capitalize on this opportunity without getting cocky. Yes, the fundamentals look good for them. Yes, Trump is deeply unpopular on the economy. Yes, the generic ballot favors Democrats. But none of that guarantees victory. Democrats still need to run good campaigns, recruit strong candidates, raise money, and most importantly, offer voters a compelling alternative vision. It's not enough to be the not Trump party. Voters need to know what Democrats stand for and what they'll actually do to address affordability concerns. The healthcare conversation that was about to start in that transcript is another major vulnerability for Republicans, though we didn't get to see where it went. Healthcare costs are a huge component of affordability. People are struggling with insurance premiums, prescription drug costs, medical debt. If Democrats can effectively message on both general economic issues and specifically on healthcare, they've got a winning combination. What we're watching unfold is a president who is so disconnected from ordinary Americans' reality that he genuinely believes everything is great because his own metrics look good. The stock market is up, so he thinks he deserves an A++++++. He doesn't understand or doesn't care that for most people, the stock market's performance is irrelevant to their daily lives. He's giving economic speeches at casinos, calling affordability a hoax, contradicting himself within minutes, blaming his predecessor nearly a year into his term, and generally displaying a level of tone deafness that would be comedic if it weren't so consequential. Republicans tied to Trump are stuck defending the indefensible. They have to pretend his economic record is great when voters are telling them it's not. They have to echo his talking points even when those talking points make no sense. They have to stand by him even as he torpedoes their electoral chances. That's the deal they made when they embraced Trump, and now they're reaping the consequences. The midterm elections are going to be a judgment on Trump's performance, particularly on the economy. He's made it impossible for Republicans to run on anything else because he's made everything about himself. And when the results come in, when Democrats potentially take back the House or expand their Senate majority or flip state legislatures, Trump will blame everyone but himself. He'll claim the elections were rigged, or that disloyal Republicans didn't support him enough, or that the media was unfair. He'll never admit that his own policies and his own messaging failures were the problem. But voters will have spoken. They'll have delivered their grade on Trump's economic performance, and I'm willing to bet it won't include 5 bonus pluses. It probably won't even be passing. And that's going to reshape American politics for years to come, regardless of what Trump says at his rallies or how many times he calls reality a hoax. The numbers don't lie, people's lived experiences don't lie, and come midterm election day, we're going to see just how many Americans are buying what Trump is selling. Based on everything we're seeing right now, it's not looking good for him or for Republicans who've hitched their wagons to his sinking ship.